Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome everybody, and so I'm very glad to have you all here, and for this last, but of course not least, moment in our celebrations for the 20th anniversary of the School of International Studies. And you are all a big part of these 20 years. And so we are very, very glad that you are here with us again in a different shoes, so to speak. I won't take much time because you have not come to listen to me. Let me just spend a word to thank very much Professor Massetti, who is our alumni tsar, so to speak, and Kate Riley, who's been keeping in touch with many of you over many, many years. And well, she is, of course, one of the building blocks of the school. And Sylvia, who as always has been helping us and running the school actually for the past 20 years. And we hope that she will keep on for the next 20 at least. And let me now give the floor to Professor Della Lucia, who is the queen of alumni for the entire university, and whom I thank very much for taking the time, having taken the time to be with us and to so bring, to some extent, the greetings of the entire university to all of you.
Yes, many thanks. I hope also to speak Italian, however. May I speak in Italian? Yeah, may I speak in Italian? No, so. Quindi, bene, un saluto a tutti. E grazie al direttore, grazie al delegato alumni della SIS e grazie anche a Kate. Io intervengo molto brevemente secondo anche gli accordi, perché appunto oggi è il vostro momento per naturalmente un saluto da parte anche del rettore, da parte dell'ufficio alumni, da parte dell'associazione alumni, ma soprattutto per un augurio motivato in occasione di questo momento di chiusura che è sotto il cappello alumni, naturalmente, ma che in effetti chiude in bellezza, vorrei dire, 2 giornate molto intense di lavori per la celebrazione appunto dei 20 anni della Scuola di Studi Internazionali. E quindi vi voglio motivare appunto il perché, ma prima di motivare il perché una premessa, spero peraltro che sia una premessa ridondante, nel senso che voi già ben conoscete il senso del progetto alunni. Allora, il progetto alunni di Ateneo ha lo scopo di realizzare una serie di attività per gli alunni, ma anche con la partecipazione attiva della comunità, e il senso è quello di mantenere nel tempo e in maniera chiaramente proficua una relazione con chi si è formato all'Università di Trento. Allora, fin dagli esordi del progetto, ancora un progetto relativamente giovane, 7 anni, dal 2015, queste attività si sono consolidate e riguardano soprattutto la formazione, lo sviluppo professionale e il networking, ma si sono anche ampliate introducendo nuove attività, vedi per esempio il mentoring, introducendo una serie di nuovi format, e molti di questi formati, anche per necessità legate alla pandemia, sono andati online, e questo ha permesso naturalmente maggiore accessibilità e maggiore partecipazione. Questo è stato realizzato perché anche dal 2020 circa c'è un ufficio dedicato agli alunni in Ateneo, appunto l'ufficio alunni, ma dalla stessa estate c'è anche un'associazione alunni. Perché direte 2 strutture? Perché la seconda struttura permette di coinvolgere attivamente proprio nel direttivo dell'associazione almeno 3 alunni. E arrivo adesso ai perché, che questa è la parte, diciamo, più interessante del motivo per il quale io vedo una consonanza tra questo evento e la Scuola di Studi Internazionali in generale, e naturalmente il progetto alunni anche in relazione al ruolo che questo progetto avrà nel piano strategico dei prossimi anni. Allora, nel dibattito molto vivace e molto bello, devo dire, stimolato ieri dal direttore Schiavo sulla nascita, il ruolo e il futuro della scuola, sono emersi molti spunti. Ne faccio una sintesi chiaramente personalissima, e quindi in un certo senso anche con il bias personale di questo filtro. Io credo che sia emerso molto chiaramente che prima di tutto la comunità, e si è visto anche in questi giorni, o meglio la SIS è una comunità di persone, e anche una sorta di palestra di formazione. E quello che è emerso in maniera molto forte è che le caratteristiche di questa comunità e dei temi che forma si posizionano ad un livello molto alto e richiamano, dal mio punto di vista, alcune parole chiave che sono equità, diversità, inclusione e rispetto. Lo ricordava tra l'altro ieri il professor Fodor, dicendo come questa comunità è stata caratterizzata dalla libertà di espressione, dalla voglia di incontrarsi, di riconoscersi e di includersi, e quindi poi di fare sintesi tra elementi diversi, che sono diventati anche il core delle competenze, quindi interdisciplinari, con le quali si sono formati gli alunni in passato e continueranno a formarsi gli alunni in futuro. Il progetto alunni consona con queste parole chiave, perché vuole essere una comunità inclusiva, è una comunità caratterizzata per la definizione dalla diversity, nel senso molte aree disciplinari che esprimono appunto bisogni e esigenze diverse, molte generazioni che si incontrano in questa comunità, molti percorsi professionali diversi, anche in prospettiva, che possono cambiare nel tempo, e l'obiettivo è incontrarsi, condividere e chiaramente innovare. Un secondo e ultimo perché è ciò che io ho visto anche in queste 2 giornate di celebrazione della scuola, è che la scuola si è fatta già da tempo parte attiva nel coinvolgere gli alunni in una serie di attività, dal comitato, diciamo, di direzione, di indirizzo meglio, della scuola fino a tutta attività formative e di sviluppo professionale. Esattamente un po' quello che capiterà tra un po' con le vostre storie, con la condivisione del vostro vissuto e delle vostre esperienze personali. E quindi ancora di nuovo torna un altro elemento del progetto alumni, che è la gratitudine e la generosità nel dare, nel restituire quello che si è ricevuto per condividerlo appunto con altre generazioni, e in una logica che io trovo molto produttiva, che è quella di formare non soltanto il sapere, ma aiutare nel saper fare, ma anche nel saper diventare. Si può anche cambiare direzione e percorso nella vita. Quindi chiudo con un ringraziamento e un auspicio. Il ringraziamento è un gesto di gratitudine che l'associazione alumni fa nei confronti degli alunni e delle alunne che interverranno fra poco nel raccontare le loro storie. Quindi troverete una piccola bag alumni appesa dietro con una piccola agenda e appunto una penna. So che poi la scuola ha ulteriormente nutrito questa bag con altri elementi, altri gadget. Il secondo è l'auspicio che sempre più alunni e alunne della SIS entrino a far parte di questa comunità degli alunni, ci entrino positivamente e quindi contribuiscano a quegli famosi obiettivi di cui vi dicevo in precedenza, e che vedranno sempre più gli alunni protagonisti nel piano strategico. E quindi vi auguro buoni lavori. Io starò qui comunque ad ascoltarvi. Grazie molte.
Thank you everyone for being here. We're here to celebrate the 20 years of the School of International Studies. But the main purpose of these specific events, these stories, is actually to connect and to reconnect. This is the sense of the event. And in this respect, this is probably an unprecedented event, or anyway, a very rare event. Having 17 alumni present, either here or connected, it's quite an achievement. And first of all, I want to thank all the alumni that have responded positively to our call to be here. So the main sense today is to provide an opportunity for alumni to meet amongst themselves, to meet the students, and to meet again the teachers that they had when they were students here, and also the new ones that joined the School of International Studies later on. So first of all, thank you to everyone, and an appeal to make the most of it. So the short presentations that we will have by the alumni are to hear some interesting stories about the SIS, but they can also give an indication to students for socializing later on and targeting the alumni that they think they might be more interesting to talk with later on. I leave the floor now to Kate, who has been the main organizer of the event. Thank you.
Well, I mean, that falls on me because I've been here since the beginning, and I kind of consider you in part my children, because I am first and foremost a mother. In fact, this Professor Fracasso here, I remember when he kind of slapped my wrist and told me to stop being a mother to the students. Anyway, right, so what's going to happen? I'm going to bring them up. We're going to do this in chronological order, so according to graduation. And we're going to have 6 alumni. I don't know the difference in pronunciation between the masculine form and the feminine form, because in English you would say alumni, alumni, but not sure on the correct pronunciation. Anyway, so we're going to have, if you would like to make your way forward, Boglarka, Maddalena's online, Emma, Federica, Serena online, and Tommaso. If you'd like to come and sit down. And they're going to okay. They're each in turn going to tell their stories. After which we're going to play musical chairs and have a change of alumni, and we're going to do that 3 times because we've got 3 groups of alumni to tell their stories. Now I know you'll be itching to ask them questions after they've spoken, but we're going to have a long Q&A session at the end. Okay, so you've each got 3, 4. Perhaps you guys a little bit longer because you've been out there in the real world for a little bit longer. Before we start, have we got Anna online? Can we see the ladies? Ok, ma non le vediamo. Ok, allora cominciamo perché Maddalena è seconda, quelle evidenziate sono quelle online, quindi Maddalena è seconda, la invitiamo di accendere quando ha finito Boglarka. Ok, allora prima abbiamo, please, why am I speaking in Italian? Because I was speaking to her in Italian. Okay, so first we have Boglarka, who graduated when it was still the laurea specialistica in Studi Europei Internazionali, because the degree has seen 3 different versions, way back in 2006, and she's going to tell her story, and she's currently working at the Provincia di Trento. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Riley, and thank you for the invitation, first of all. Thank you to the director of the school, but especially to all the school, because it is a very nice thing to feel part of this community, because actually it's not about people, single people, but it's really getting back. And I have to tell you that some of the alumni, we are working together, but also with the school. And so actually this community is growing and growing. So I arrived not in 2006, actually, at the school. Yeah, I graduated in 2006, but I also did the master course in 2003. And I have to tell you that at the beginning, it was quite unsure what happens. So looking back, it is in some way what Steve Jobs calls connecting the dots. Connecting the dots you can do after that. At the beginning, it's not quite easy. I have to start my timer, otherwise I speak too much. The point is that I arrived in Trento in 2001 because I was an Erasmus student, and in 2002 I saw actually the poster of the first master course, and I wanted to do it, but I didn't graduate in Hungary, so that's why I couldn't actually be part of that course. And I went to ask for more information, and they said, we are not sure if we are starting it again, because we have to see how it goes, etc., etc. But at the end, I fitted in the second edition, and then I also had the opportunity to graduate in 2006. And this was the turning point, because in this way, I didn't have to make the acceptance of my Hungarian degree. So now I have a Hungarian one and have an Italian one, and this permitted the entrance in the labor market for me. So it was really important in this sense. I think it was a fantastic idea to be really interdisciplinary. And this is what we liked at the beginning. And I really found something different confronted with my experience in Hungary. We were included. We were really welcomed by the professors, and also the community of the students worked very well. And a special thank you goes to Silvia Tomaselli, who really helped us from the beginning on. Yeah, that's the truth. As I told you, actually, I work also now with ex-students and also with the current teachers and also with the school, because I'm working in the autonomous province of Trento. In the province, there is an office that is called Europe Direct Trentino. Europe Directs are information offices of the European Commission. There are more than 400 in Europe and 45 in Italy. So this is a really nice entry point if someone is interested in European integration. Obviously, my story deals with European integration. I'm coming from Hungary. Hungary, that was before the entrance in the European Union. So this office is really connected to the local university, but also is connected in a European level. And I always say that you have to start. You have to start and you see what comes next. And this happened also with the school, because I had my tirocinio, my internship actually at the same place in the province in 2003, where I'm working now, after 13 years. But now I know why I had to be there some years before. Just start, and there will be new ways. New ways will be open. And just a small remark at the end. It was really funny because I was the second to graduate, and I wanted to be my son part of it, who was 6 months old at the graduation. And he was in the room with dad. And as soon as I opened my mouth, my son started to shout. So since then, I am really working on it to bring him back to the university. So thank you very much again, and keep in touch, and please give us the possibility to be part also in the future of this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boglaska. Maddalena, if you can turn your screen on, your video on, so we can see you. So Maddalena Dalli,
hello.
You graduated in 2007. We can hear you, but we can't see you, Maddie.
I can see myself, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can see you now, thanks.
Yeah, the connection is not great, I apologize.
Okay, right. So Maddie is joining us from Rabat, where she works for the Environmental DG on projects in Morocco, which I don't know if she's going to tell us about that or tell us different stories. But I have to add that Maddalena works for the Commission, is a mother of 3 small children, and almost manages to juggle all the balls. She sometimes gets a bit stressed, but not often. Okay. An excellent role model for the ladies. Thanks, Maddie.
Hello, do you still hear me? There's a little bit of a delay, I guess, in between what I see with myself and what I see on your screen, but okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me and for accepting to have me even from far away. I'm really sorry I cannot be there today, and it's really it's a great opportunity to reconnect with something that is actually quite a long time ago, but feels like yesterday. Somehow I think I still feel like I'm 21, 22, and I still remember very clearly the days of the school. I was part of the second generation, so really early days, and I still remember very clearly the running around in a small group. It was a small class, and the good feeling of all this linking what we had studied in our laurea di base with opening to other thoughts and other paths of study, and it was I found it extremely interesting. And I must say that also beyond the very good teachers that we met at the school, it was the feeling that the school wanted to offer a different system of teaching that didn't make you just feel like the teacher is teaching you and you got to repeat what the teacher just said, but you were actually allowed and encouraged to think and say what you had on your mind. So I think this was a great experience, and for me it was very new in an Italian system. The school was also for me the link to the outside world, because it was thanks to my CRUI, which was also recommended by the university, that I started my professional career. So my CRUI it's this program with the Italian embassies abroad, and I ended up in Kosovo. It was a very interesting period, and like for many of us and many of you, after university was a period of trying, a period of starting one job, paid, non-paid, a different job, different organization, different topics, to try and understand a little bit what would be my path, struggling between being paid and non-paid, of course, and also it was an important moment of my life for 2 reasons. First of all, because I met my life partner, which also affected very much my personal and professional decisions, but also because somehow by chance I found out about the competitions to join the European Commission. which allowed me for a great weekend in Thessaloniki, and that's how, also a little bit by chance, my professional career started. So after Kosovo, I moved to Brussels and to join the Commission. I was working for the department that deals with development policy and development programs for the European Commission. So it's what it's now called DG DevCo, INPA actually. It was an interesting job. For me, it was a bit of a new, it was a change of what I thought I would do. I thought in my life I was going to go and work in the field for NGOs and be on the ground. And then I found myself in a very boring office full of well-paid officials and a gigantic bureaucracy. And I thought, actually, okay, I'm trying this for a while. If it doesn't work, I'll still leave it. Be careful with the European Commission, because once you get in, it's very hard to go away, because it's a very nice employer. Still, I was on a contract, so I left after 3 years and joined my partner in Bosnia, in Sarajevo, where I actually developed my first job, which is being a mother, as Kate said. I had my 2 small kids there, and it was professionally not a very intense period, but it was a period that made me realize an important thing, which is that as much as I love being a mom, I also need to have the intellectual stimulation and social stimulation that a job can offer, and that's when I then therefore decided to join the boring and well-paid fonctionnaire of the European Commission and take the competition. So then we moved back to Brussels again. And a bit by chance, I started working on climate change, and I'm extremely thankful to this chance, because I've learned to love a subject and to work on a subject that is not just a subject, but it's actually also a change of mindset and on behavior. So I'm very lucky for this. I worked for 4 years in the department that deals with resilience and adaptation to climate change. Working on developing countries, but also really on the work that all the different member states do to adapt themselves to the consequences and the impacts of climate change. And after that, we moved again, and this time to Morocco, where I kept my subject. If at all, I broadened my spectrum, because now I work on energy policy, climate change, and environment. So it's the green areas. I am more into advising position, so in a way I reinforce the dialogue with Moroccan authorities on these subjects, but also advise the work of the delegation, be it on cooperation projects, so concretely actions on the ground, or on policy developments, cooperation with the member states. I'm again very lucky, because it's a challenging work. I'm the only one who does it here, so it means I'm on my own, but it also gives me a lot of liberty to think and act. So I think I have a very lucky position here. I just wanted to say 2 words to finish. The first one is my views on career. I must say that, well, while thinking about what to say, I realized that my life choices and my professional choices were not always very structured. It happened a little bit with life, with love, with professional opportunities, kids. But for me, the important thing in all of this was to keep learning, and it's something that, despite the fact that I'm not 22 anymore, I'm still doing. And to me, it doesn't really matter whether I'm progressing in a straightforward to being the director general of some DG, but what I keep learning in my job, and I keep challenging myself in that sense, and I must say, for me, it's extremely rewarding. And the second one is a bit of a reflection on the European Union, European Commission in particular. As I said, it was not something I was dreaming of since age 0, actually. Well, quite the opposite. It's a very interesting employer, because it allows you to change, it allows you to go abroad, it allows you to change subjects, to work on different areas, and therefore this idea of curiosity and learning keeps being there. So in that sense, I love it for this. At the same time, like any other job, it's not a perfect job, and my advice is it's always good to start elsewhere, experience other things, try out things before you close yourself in this golden cage where you have so many. It's such a good job that in a way it's very hard to get out of it. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, because I remember I came to the school a couple of years ago and there was a lot of interest from the students, and my advice was, don't start with it. You can end up there, but there's many other things to try in life and to learn what you actually like. That's it from my side.
Okay, okay, I've done it. Right, so thanks, Maddalena. Now we're going to move on to Emma Mitrotto, who's a double graduate. So she graduated from, again, the Laurea Specialistica in 2009, and then went on to do a PhD. Well, she had a break in between. It didn't take her 10 years to finish her PhD, because she graduated from the PhD in 2019. Thank you, Emma.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for my intense voice, it's allergy. And thank you very much for inviting me today. And thank you to the school for having me twice here, in fact. So I am very happy for this opportunity. And I don't want to tell much about my professional story, because we are going to hear, we heard already, and we're going to hear many interesting things, and my professional life is still full of turbulences, and it's very dynamic. So as Maddalena said, if I may, I am following the path of life and and moving smoothly from one job to the other. But I will take the opportunity to share with you my story of what I am, and I'm eager to hear yours later on at the aperitivo, about what I gained from the school outside the classroom. So what I learned here from experience. So first of all, I thank the school for the many adventures I had, because during my master, Laurea Specialistica, I had a semester abroad at the University of Queensland in Australia. And that was a very interesting opportunity, because I could explore a different academic setting and way of interacting as well that was already actually available here, but then the experience there was even bigger in this sense. And even more, the adventure began when I did my fieldwork during my PhD, because I had the opportunity to travel in the Southern African countries, in the Southern African Development Community. So I could travel in natural parks in South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique. I visited remote places, met great people, met great animals. So it was, and I have a lot of memories which really made my days. So, but this is also connected to one lesson learned, because I could learn a lot from and fact check things that I was reading in books and in journals, but then I could touch with my hand what was happening on the field. So I encourage everyone here, and especially new students, if they are here, to look for different sources and fact check and experience what they need to know, because this is the best way to move on and know directly how things are developing. So my second gain from the school are my long-lasting friendships, which sometimes also bring to professional collaboration. And one is sitting here just close to me. So Federico, we have been friends for 15 years now. And then I can also, there is someone hiding there also. So I'm really grateful to the school for, social life. So I encourage also, again, current students, if they are here, or well, alumni, to keep investing in personal relations and not study only, because this enriches us much more. This enriches us much more than some time. And the third point is that, as we heard, the school is famous for its interdisciplinarity. So we were taught to look at one issue from different perspectives, being it legal, economic, political. And this, I try to transpose this approach to my life more generally, both personal and professional. So I always try to look at things from different angles. And in this way, sometimes I discover solutions that I didn't think possible. So again, this is something important, because sometimes we really find some blocks, but if we look at one situation from another perspective, maybe we can find a different path. So if I may, I encourage everyone here in the room to take this opportunity, but especially students to take every opportunity that the school can offer, both inside and outside the classrooms, to explore their interest, pursue their professional objectives, but also follow the flow of life, so, and grow as people and experts. So I'm eager to learn about your stories later on at the aperitivo. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Emma. Okay, we're going to move on now to Federico, who's another double graduate. They met on the Specialistica, as it was then, Masters, and then first Federico came, you graduated in 2017, I think, from the PhD. Thanks, Federico, the floor is yours.
So good afternoon, everybody. I have to say I'm really glad to be here today, because I owe so much to the School of International Studies, which has been for me a real life changer in many respects. So I'm really happy to be here, and I thank Kate for inviting me. What I would like to do today is to share a little bit, very briefly, my professional path, which in many respects overlaps with Emma's one, not only because we're friends, but because we both specialized in international environmental law and environmental law in general. And so, yeah, I will conclude with some general points I would like to share with you. So after graduating in 2009 from the master's degree, I did the first experience at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as an intern at the UN Permanent Mission in Vienna. And this was a very interesting experience that allowed me also to put in practice what I learned during the master's and what I did with my master thesis, which at the time I chose to be in the field of, again, international environmental law and about the principle of sustainable development. So I applied a little bit my knowledge there. After that, I took the opportunity offered by the University of Trento with the program Erasmus Plus to go to Brussels. I guess Brussels is a common element among alumni, the School of International Studies. And there I worked as a project assistant for an international association called ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, for 6 months. And it was, again, a very enriching experience. And after that, I had the opportunity to work as an in-service trainee for the Committee of the Region. So again, the EU institutions. And I was very lucky at that time because I was assigned to the office of the president of the Committee of the Regions, who at the time was Mercedes Presso, and was in charge again with the environmental portfolio of the presidency. So it was a very good experience. After this Brussels parenthesis, as much as I liked Brussels, I decided to move back to Bolzano in this case, for personal reasons. So when I was looking for a job, and it was a bit my idea also before starting my experiences abroad, I decided to enroll and to take the competition to start the PhD here at the School of International Studies. So I'm a double alumna, but again, there was a break in between. And so my PhD was about international biodiversity law and the interplay with the rights of indigenous peoples. And all the work I've done during the PhD then, again, in a very lucky way, led me to my current job as a researcher at URAC Research, that you might know is a research center based in Bolzano, private research center. So it's not really academia, but it's about research. It's founded by the province of Bolzano and also through externally funded projects, mostly European ones. And currently, I'm in this context, I'm leading a research project on climate change and the role of subnational governments in the governance of climate change. So I think that what you can somehow learn from my experience are two main things. The first one, what I advise you to do is to start specializing while you're studying, which means, for instance, that when you are choosing in which specific field you want to write your master's thesis or on which specific topic, you should think about a little bit what would come next. Then, of course, the professional life is made of ups and downs and is made of also chance, and it might change a lot along your path. So you might be called to, and it's always good to remain flexible. So you should, in my view, you should have an ambition and pursue that, but remain flexible enough to take all the opportunities that may be presented to you afterwards. And yeah, remain also open to continue your education path when you want to change your professional one. But I think what is common to our experience as alumni is that the School of International Studies offers to you many professional path opportunities. And yeah, it's up to you to take them, I think. And you may start already while you're studying, and I encourage you then to remain flexible and to take as much as possible from what presents to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Federico. So we've kind of done institutions, and we're going to move on to now the world of academia, as if you hadn't had enough of it, but anyway, here we are. Okay, Serena, who's joining us from the UK, where she works as a lecturer. The floor is yours. Off you go, Serena.
Thank you so much, Kate, and thank you, everyone. I'm really sorry not to be able to be there to celebrate this achievement and also the community of the School of International Studies. Unfortunately, I had the hardcore marking and some commitments, but we also tried to arrange an in-person seminar some time ago, but unfortunately COVID happened, and hopefully by the publication of my next book, we will manage to arrange an in-person meeting again. But my heart is completely with you, and I'm so happy to be part of the celebration. And what I would like to do for this brief intervention is just to talk through some aspects of my journey. And I think the best advice I can offer to future students, because each journey is so different and it's so contextual and contingent. I think if you have any questions about academic career, and if I can help in any way to give suggestions, you can get in touch with me. I will be very happy to help in any way possible. So in terms of my journey, I'm currently, as Kate said, an academic at the University of Warwick Law School. My area of study is very much around law and development, gender studies, global political economy, and finance and digital technologies. I also teach subjects that are very much in my research area, so I'm very lucky to do this. I teach around gender and the law, gender in the global economy and labor law, and international economic law. So these are the kind of areas I've been working on. But I think it's very important to say that at the beginning of my academic career, I never thought to be an academic. I thought it was something so far away, also because, of course, being the first in my family to go to university, I never thought about academic career as an option. And I think I would be very honest to say that a lot of these achievements are very much thanks to the School of International Studies. And I really need to thank, in particular, and I'm pretty sure it's okay to do that, two amazing women who are, of course, Louise Antonioli and Kate Riley. And they've been the kind of pillars and support throughout. I'm not sure I can hear, but they've been the pillars and support for me. And so something was mentioned before in the introduction about these chains of values and connections and this kind of generational building of knowledge and sharing and community. And I think for me, this kind of chains of values really started at the School of International Studies. And what I try to do is to continue to do that with my current students, both undergraduate, postgraduate, PhD students, and also with anyone who would be be interested to start this career, but also outside this in various organizations. And so I think these connections and generational support is extremely important. And they already know, but I always say I'm very grateful to them for everything I was able to do over the years. And also, I think it's kind of important also to say that my start at the School of International Studies was in a way kind of casual and slow, because I did the admission test by chance. I didn't really prepare because I was finishing my dissertation at the law school in Siena, where I was graduating, and I didn't really, I just came across the school by chance. It was not something really planned. And then I was lucky enough to start, and I started a little bit later because I had another project and I was finishing the exams for the previous degree. And I always felt that I had a lot to catch up, and my English was not as good as other people who were there. And so receiving this support and be able to work on my passion and what I really like to do, which was, of course, around subjects I'm interested in, which are around the gender, of course, and international law. And I was able for the first time to connect my research passion with my activism for gender justice and feminist activism. And I think that was very important for me, because I was able to very much to feel like that I could do something important, and I was able to build a career based on that. And I love my job immensely, both the research part in terms of co-creation, in terms of continuous discoveries, in terms of be able to challenge the way in which knowledge is produced and is framed, as well as the teaching part in terms of learning from students and be challenged by them and the ways they see things through different, of course, eyes and lenses. So I think this is very important. Also, of course, more specific support, similarly to previous speakers. Also, when I was finishing my master's degrees at the school, I started an internship in Brussels, and there, of course, I started working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs first, and then for the United Nations. And that experience also was done through the school and shaped my PhD research proposal, which I was able to get a scholarship in some universities in the UK, and I decided to accept the one at the University of Kent, where I completed my PhD, but also have been teaching for some time. And by the end of the PhD experience, I already had, of course, apart from the research and different research projects, also a lot of teaching experience, which very much helped also the building of the career. And by the end of the PhD, I also already had a book contract for my PhD. But then I decided to do a postdoc instead of going directly into a permanent job. And I did my postdoc at King's College London, and then I had two permanent positions before, one at Brunel and my current position, which started during the pandemic at the University of Warwick, and I hope to stay in this position for a long time because it's, I think, an environment which reflects a lot my research and my approach to this. So just to conclude, I think the bottom line of all this is that it's very important how the school supported me to be able to build, not just build, but actually live through my passion and developing also my career through that. And again, I really want to thank the amazing women who supported me, and I hope I'm doing justice by doing the same with my current students. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Serena. Thanks for me and Louisa, but we just did it because we could see the sparkle in your eye. Okay, right. And now we move on to our first gentleman of the afternoon. Tommaso, yes, beato tra le donne. Right, so Tommaso, another academic who, not a double graduate from the school, he went elsewhere to do his PhD, but from the first, I have to say this now, from the first time I saw Tommaso, the very first discussion we had, I knew he was destined for big things because he has this critical mind, a pure academic. So I knew he was going to end up in academia.
I'll pretend it's a compliment. No, I mean, really, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a genuine pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I would like to use my time to briefly talk about 3 fundamental ways in which pursuing a master's degree here at the school shaped my subsequent career. To begin with, Trento made me a more internationally oriented kind of person. When I came here in late 2009, I was already considering doing a PhD abroad, but quite frankly, I wasn't sure whether I could make it or whether I would enjoy studying, living, and then working in another country for years, or even maybe for the rest of my life. To make an informed decision about this, I was looking for opportunities to cut my teeth on courses offered in different academic systems. And the fact that I was able to successfully complete 2 terms abroad during my second year, the first one in Melbourne and the second one at Leuven, played a huge role and gave me the confidence I needed in order to move to Britain for my PhD and later for my subsequent jobs. A second key insight I hold to Trento is the realization of the importance of gaining proficiency in academic English to maximize my ability to communicate effectively within a university setting. And so thanks to Kate Riley and the other language teachers I met here, I came to appreciate that learning to think in English, coming to grips with the structures and patterns that native speakers use would greatly increase, if you like, my ability to, produce knowledge, but also would give me a kind of comparative advantage over scholars who would struggle to convey their ideas clearly because of their unwillingness, perhaps, to engage with the written and unwritten rules academics use to talk to each other, write to each other, as well as for their own epistemic communities. And finally, here, I got a much deeper understanding of the role of networks in building careers and getting name recognition. The school was arguably the first institution I attended was faculty members had considerable international connections and studied or even taught in various universities across Europe, as well as in the United States. And that background enabled them to give sound advice to relatively young, unexperienced students like me who were contemplating leaving Italy. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, I cannot name them all, but at least I would like to mention Professor Gianfranco Poggi, who was incredibly supportive and generous with his time during that period of my life. And so, to conclude, I can only express gratitude to the school for having boosted my life chances, as Max Weber would put it. And of course, if you have any questions about my career, like whether you are considering, pursuing a career in academia in the UK or even in France and Germany, which are also countries I know a little bit about in terms of academic environment, feel free to approach me during the reception, or get in touch or ask me questions during the Q&A. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much. And clear as always. Okay, I now invite you thank you very much to leave the floor and invite the next group of students, sorry, apologies, alumni. Okay. It doesn't matter. Oh no, it's there. It's that one. Okay, so we move on to the next cohort. We already met Alice yesterday because she's on our stakeholder committee. And we're going to kick off with her, our diplomat who's joined us from Romania. Alice, you can be a little bit more personal now today. Thank you.
Actually, what I wanted to start with is ask who's in front of me, because that's always something interesting when you have a call. So I would ask how many of you are studying European and international studies? How many of you are studying the other projects? How many of you are in PhD? So can you give me a raise of hands for graduate students of European and international studies? Okay, that's pretty clear, I think. Because I wanted, to understand what's the situation at the moment. Because when I graduated, the other two lines didn't exist. As Professor Riley mentioned, I'm a diplomat, which means that I work for the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. At the moment, I'm serving in Romania at the embassy, obviously, and my previous posting was in China, where I worked for 4 years. My career path, I will not dwell long into that because it's all information that you can find on the internet. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs website is extremely detailed, and if you want to go into that path, then feel free to write to me or talk to me later. But what I think I would rather mention is things that I found are important in the workplace that not necessarily I thought would be important when I was here in Trento, and for which I have partially to thank the university for putting them in the curriculum, and partially I would suggest the university to, build upon them. So the previous speakers mentioned that the working is, you never stop learning, and that is so true. And I think that what was extremely good, and what I have to admit, when I got out of here, I was really not that eager to keep studying. because I came from 5 years of studying after high school, which was like another 13 years in the educational system. So that's a lot. But I have to say that keep reading, keep studying, keep getting information, etc. It's extremely important, and it's one of the ways to keep your work interesting to yourself. And keeping your work interesting to yourself, it's something, it's something that will keep you awake and focused, and will make your life better, I would even say. And so for this, I have to say that here in Trento, I found a very beautiful community built around a small city, which helped because we were a small group. I think somebody earlier mentioned it. And we built long-lasting friendships, and we are still exchanging information among ourselves. And that's something that becomes extremely useful, not only for your personal fulfillment, but for work later on. And that is something that I cannot exaggerate. Keep in touch, keep reading, keep talking to your colleagues, to your teachers. That's something extremely useful. Another thing that I have to thank Trento for is languages. The fact at the time in 2010 when I enrolled here, having a full program in English was not that common in Italy, at least. And I think that that gave me a quite good advantage compared to the other competitors, at least at the diplomatic career selection, because by the time I got out of here, I read so many papers in English, so many, that I could think in English, as some of my predecessors in this chair mentioned, and I had absolutely no difficulty with the language part of the diplomatic exam, which is 2 out of 5 for the written test, so it's not bad at all. And finally, one thing that I think it's useful here in Trento, I don't know if it's still done, is the social life. The city is small. The students are comparatively a lot to the population. We didn't always feel welcome, I have to say. We were just reminiscing about it. Now things seem more, easygoing, but I have to say that created a very special bond and an environment that made learning and coming to class way easier. And that's not to be underestimated when you are at the end of your studies and you have spent so many hours and so many days, months, years on a desk, and at some point having a friendly face to share your opinions and talk, it's very good. And that's not something that all universities have. And that's something that I think it's a underrated advantage for Trento. So as I mentioned, I will not go into my work that much because you can ask about it later. And I think I will leave the floor to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, just one little word. Yeah, this 2012 cohort, the graduates of 2012, 10 of them came last night. They were celebrating because they really had a good network going. Couldn't invite everybody from 2012 here today, sadly. Okay, right. So next up, we have to look at my thing. Donata, over to you, who has had a very interesting career.
I hope. Question for you. Hi, everyone, before all, and thank you very much for this moment, for being here. And my question to you is, has anyone considered a career in sports? Sorry. I studied here, it was already 10 years ago already, and it was a great time. And then I moved to the sport industry. It was not something that I had considered. And I've been working in International Volleyball Federation for 8 years. I've been dealing with sport governance matters, athletes representations, and also event strategy and legacy, and also sports for development. And I am now in a moment of career transition, and it's a privileged moment because I got the opportunity to think about my next steps. I co-founded a Sport Think Action Tank with some friends and sports professionals, because we saw there is a lack in the sport industry, as in many industries, to address the tough questions, the questions that we cannot discuss in public, especially if we have a role in sports. And so we want to address the responsibility of the sport industry beyond the field of play when it comes to matters of human rights, social impact. And we are doing so by developing activities and discussions, moment of discussions with the sport industry's professionals. But I'm very happy to be here today because I get the opportunity to connect the dots. And as I said, it's a privilege. I am here thinking about all the learnings that I got from this place, especially when it comes to critical thinking and when it comes to address, understand, and deconstruct topics, complex topics. And I'm still using the methodology that I've learned here in my work today. And it's a framework that I get to use also to address all the topics related to sports and sports politics, soft power of sports. So I'm really happy because I can share now with you today 3 learnings. And the first one is to be patient. I was impatient after I finished my master to jump into work. I maybe was scared to think I was a failure if I was not getting to concretize anything in a short amount of time. So I can now say, be patient, take your time, especially throughout your career. The second one is be open to opportunities, because I maybe, like some of you, was thinking that I was going to end up in Africa, work in international corporations, maybe back to Angola where I had an internship. And then things didn't work out. But sports happened, and I could say yes to this opportunity. And I'm now happy because I can connect the dots, and I'm still using the topics and the learnings I had here. I don't know, international labor law, human rights, all these things I'm still using nowadays when it comes to my job. And the third one, and I guess this is one of the most beautiful aspects, is be connected, stay connected, and nurture your relationship in here. It's 10 years and I'm looking on my right and on my left, and we are still friends, not only friends, but also colleagues. We support each other when it comes to suggestions related to career, but also we keep on discussing, I don't know, the invasion of something related to something else. Have you heard about that? So it's really great, a bond that we get to use and develop. So be mindful of this and keep learning, as many of you already said. Thank you.
Thanks, Donata. And they were on 3 different continents, these 3, who kept in touch. And then I will also say that Donata will be coming back to run a workshop for us in September. Okay. I think, I'm not sure if you're sitting in chronological order. Next is, no, it's Gaetano. Okay, the next one.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, as everyone else has already done, thanks, Kate and Sylvia, for bringing me here from Amman, where I currently live. I work as a regional HR coordinator for Middle East in a humanitarian Italian NGO called Intersos. Probably you have never heard about that, but it's a pretty big one. Do you have any idea what HR stands for? Which is pretty good. While I was sitting there, for me, it was just human rights. So you're already a step ahead. That's impressive. So first of all, let's start from the easy question, what the School of International Studies gave me. For sure, in the beginning, it was a pretty, I would say, exotic and international experience because I come from the south of Sicily. So for me, Trento was already somehow abroad. And it was a continuous test because I was surrounded by students, curious students like you. So every single sentence that you could say public had to be challenged by your colleagues. So you were surrounded by creative thinkers, students, but also professors who were very open to criticism or opinions. So that was a very first difference that I found from a previous university I attended. Second point was all the chances that the university gave to me. So I was supposed to spend 2 years in Trento. I ended up spending probably 8 months or 9 months. But at the end of the, let's say, the process, when I graduated, I had already lived for 6 months in Senegal, 2 months in Croatia. They also paid me the participation in Geneva in the United Nations Graduate Study Program. So not all the universities gives this kind of support, concrete support and opportunities. But unfortunately, I couldn't, I was lost once I graduated. I had no idea how to enter the sector I was dreaming of, which is the no-profit sector. So I wanted to write a dissertation on South Sudan. And after getting, I remember, an internship at the United Nations in South Sudan, civil war broke up. So all my plans were destroyed basically overnight. So I found myself unemployed. So I had somehow to embrace the devil. So I started working for some multinational companies, and I kept resigning for any and each of them because I wanted to do something else in my life. And I managed to do that while I was 30. So I joined this humanitarian organization that allows me still today to change country more or less every 5-6 months. I started 4 years ago in Cameroon. Then I moved to Nigeria. Never go there. Listen to me, never. Then I moved to Democratic Republic of Congo, a little bit in Afghanistan, back to Italy during the pandemic, and I'm happy in Jordan, being in charge of Middle East. So a little bit of suggestion from a HR perspective is to you. I don't want to sound naive, but try to look unique, because when we get CVs from fresh graduates, most of the time the CV looks all the same. So try to do something weird, something strange, test yourself, and safe. Yeah, eventually do something safe, which is always a wise idea, and enjoy as much as you can your life and this kind of academic path, which opens a lot of job opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gaetano. Next, we have Erika, who works for Deutsche Welle.
Yeah. So, hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I remember when I was a student, I attended the alumni event. So it's like on the other side of the table. Now it's a full cycle. And this morning I flew in from Berlin, where I was attending a workshop with Deutsche Welle, the German international broadcaster, with a bunch of other European broadcasters, France Media Monde, the Portuguese public broadcaster, Polish, Portuguese, no, I've already said Romanian. And quoting what Kate said just a few moments ago, in the real world, I feel like that was the real world version of what MEIS was for me. And an interesting story, I don't know if it's going to be inspiring or not, but I'm just going to share. When I graduated in 2017 from MEIS, I allowed myself to think that I had crossed the finishing line. Like, I'm done. Also quoting Alicia, I'm done with studies. I've studied. I know that if you're Italian, you know the idioms, you never stop learning. All your parents have probably told you that, and your professors, and every adult you've ever come across. And I didn't agree in a sense that, yeah, I'm gonna, of course, keep on reading and studying in a metaphorical sense and everything. And then I graduated here. My dissertation was about media and conflict, the conflict in Northern Ireland. And I entered like a competition, a prize. It wasn't a competition, it's dissertation prize, journalistic dissertation prize. Just thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. What is it? I'm gonna send my manuscript and whatever happens. And then months and months later, I received a call that I had won. I had won together with 2 other girls, and then we went there. It was in Turin, and we had to say, oh, I graduated in this and this, and the other 2 winners were like, of course, I studied journalism, and I'm a journalist, and the other one, I've studied journalism, and I'm a journalist. And I was like, I haven't studied journalism, international European studies, and I'm not a journalist. That's when the switch happened in my mind. And I was working back then in an NGO in Bonn. It was mentioned, ICLEI, and it was an internship that I got through the School of International Studies. And I thought, but that's not what I want to do. That's not what I specialized in. And I started looking, well, not even started looking, because my almost neighbors in Bonn were Deutsche Welle, the international broadcaster. So I applied, I got a job that is still my job. I'm in the audience development team, and I help creating formats, news formats for the 32 language newsrooms that are there in Deutsche Welle. But still, it's not my point, it's not my story. Is that a few months ago, I thought, okay, I'm doing all this journalistic work, but I'm not a journalist, and I have a lot of skills that are not the journalistic skills or knowledge. So what should I do? And I enrolled in a master's degree in global journalism, which I'm currently attending. So first, when I thought being a student at MAIS was intense, try juggling a full-time job and a full-time master. And I miss my MAIS student days. But also, I wouldn't say I'm in a privileged position for you, but I'm in the position of being both a student right now and a worker, a student and alumna and worker. So 3 positions in one. And I'm gonna welcome all your questions, should you have any. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Erica. Still full of beans as always. Okay, and the last alumnus to speak in this cohort is Christian Stroya. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you very much. Well, I think I'm a little bit the outsider here, because actually I'm from a few generations before, but I graduated a little bit late. So I was also an outlier for the school for several reasons. But just like Jatana, I'm also came here as already an international student. Though you came from the same country, I came from a different country. I already had my fair share of living abroad. I started my education in the United States initially, went back to my home country, to Romania, to finish my graduate degree, and then came here for the master's. And I think what attracted me here, and I think that was a very good selling point of the school at the time, and I think maybe much more now, was the international aspect and the fact that the course was in English. To me, that was, I think at that time, was the only one that I knew in Italy. So I came here, of course, and it's been an amazing experience. I was here at the time around, so I started in 2011, and I caught the school when the school was turning 10. So it was like a teenager then, you know, discovering what he wants to become, you know, all the new activities were up and going. But at the same time, it was a very interesting time of transition. We were all studying in one of the annexes of the language center of the CLA. And among our colleagues, we called it the vertical corridor, because literally it was a very narrow annex with a corridor that actually was spread vertically in all the classrooms. So that was our fun place, actually, where we started. We have a lot of interactions, and it felt a bit nostalgic when we had to say goodbye to that and to come to this building when it was inaugurated. The school, interestingly enough, was transitioning as well from being an interdepartmental initiative to being its own center. So we witnessed a lot of changes actually at the time, and I don't think we fully processed that as students, but only now when I look back sorry, I'm actually realizing that was quite a good turning point. And I was fortunate enough at that time, it was Professor Antonioli, who was there leading also after the school moved to this new place. We had a lot of inspirational, I think, support from our professors at that time, Professor Fracasso, Schiavo, Politi, Professor Fodor, who actually stimulated us intellectually quite a lot. And being at that time of transition, I think we witnessed the school shifting, creating much more opportunities, having much more initiatives, partnerships, guest lectures are all coming around the same period, and it was consolidated more and more. So for us, I think we're all receiving, I don't know if we were like pilots, whatever we were, but we're all taking it in. And that's what actually inspired me to follow, to take some steps afterwards. And it's because of some of the guest lectures that we had here, I was inspired to go in a specific field to work because of a speaker that came and opened my mind to the world of think tanks and policy making in Brussels. So that's where I ended up, but after a very difficult journey, because I actually didn't graduate together with my colleagues. At that time, I tried, again, just like some of my fellow colleagues here, I wanted to experiment. So I went back to my home country. I tried my luck at the diplomatic exam in Romania at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I almost got in. I was one of the finalists, but it was an 8-month-long process. So I was a little bit behind and I couldn't find a proper professor to guide me in my multidisciplinary thesis here at the university. So I thought, okay, I need to find that person somewhere. And I ended up being selected for a collaborative project between our school and this think tank in Brussels, which is the Center for European Policy Studies. And I ended up there for 3 months. I had all the experts that I needed, had interesting discussions. And those 3 months turned up to, by now, they're more than 7 years. So I kind of, things went from there. And my story is a little bit unusual because I want to mention also this for you to know that there were also some things on the personal side, that some family-related aspects. I lost my father in the meantime. My mom was diagnosed with a severe illness. So my mind was a bit derailed from actually submitting my thesis. So when I got my energy to do it, that was already in 2018. That was the only thing that was missing. But by then I had already enough work experience. I was already employed without having a degree. I had already worked in different policy environments, met with a lot of stakeholders in Brussels. I was at the interplay of working with evidence-based policy making. So combining policy analysis with project management, stakeholder engagement, strategic communication, and so on. And I kept that type of work. I actually tried to combine it. And it's not been easy. I had to negotiate on I would say on a project by project basis. But to me, it gave a richer experience, which actually started here. Like as you're sitting here, the school has already given me enough, I think, interest to pursue something like this, to pursue multidisciplinarity, just like my fellow colleagues, and to try different things. And I'm now in a place where I'm also in the job transition phase. So I'm in between. I just finished my contract in Brussels, and I'm about to transition to a new field. I got married during COVID, so that's another experience that was a very challenging thing, but it's successfully done. While at the same time navigating where we should be, how to set up to establish family, what are the next steps. And what I wanted to share with you is that just like I've met the school while I was in transition, and there were many changes, I also discovered that life is also full of changes and transitions. And one of the best skills that you can get now here in school is to develop this resilience and ability to adapt, and to adapt to whatever comes in your life, either on a personal level, professional, academically, and so on. I learned also in Brussels that there's much more than what you see on the titles and the appearance of a person. There's also a more hidden side. There's also the struggles behind trying to have a contract, working late evenings, unpaid, and so on. And I had several of my colleagues from my generation that also experienced what it means to jump from an internship to an internship without actually sometimes being paid, without landing a contract, and so on. So what I wanted to share with you is that depending on your choices, I can share a little bit about this Brussels environment, which is a very dynamic and fast-paced, very competitive environment, that sometimes you might think people know where they're heading, but actually people don't know how their life will turn out to be. There's an impression that everybody has all together, their life and their idea where they're going. But the reality is that they don't. And I want to challenge you with this to also be more at ease about your future choices, because you actually don't know what's going to work out. I really liked what a previous colleague said, that's only when you look back, you connect the dots, which is true. It's only when you look back, you actually started to see the red line in your, what makes you unique. So if I want to, and I can address other aspects about working in Brussels if you're interested and so on. But what I want to leave you with is just a few points that I liked from recent articles from the Harvard Business Review that was talking particularly about living in today's society, particularly post-pandemic, which things have changed. The job market has changed in many regards. And we are now having a type of life and of lifestyle that is, you are, as a person, you are highly educated, yet you most likely have an international career, living abroad for extended period of time, potentially marrying another partner from another country, dealing with different cultures, and also having multilingual skills. So what I wanted to leave you with is what can help you to navigate this life that you're having and that you're going to have in the future are the following. See change as normal. This will definitely help you in your career path and also personal development. Change is normal and is constant. Second, I want you to understand the fact that there are also subtle and emotional aspects to every change. And very rarely people talk about it. They mostly talk about professional sides, but there's other subtle aspects that you need to be aware of. Thirdly, experiment with new identities. Every time that you grow, you discover a different side of you. Do experiment, take the risk to actually discover yourself in different ways. 4, easily learn and employ new ways of thinking. And this is something that you start here, but also you continue throughout your progress. And finally, try to keep something stable if you can, but what that stability is also, I think it comes out here, is your relationships with people, your stability in who you are, and also maybe trying to discover what is actually your career by taking it one step at a time. So that's all from me. And I have some other stories from our time. And I have also some colleagues here as well that I studied. Sasha is here as well. We can share stories from our time of being here in the period of transition of the school. But I'm be glad to take some of your questions later. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christian. Okay. So thank you very much. Yes, for the moment till the questions come. Okay, and then last but very not least is we have our last cohort, so our more recent graduates, who apart from one are all from the Masters in Security Studies, the MIS. Okay. You have challenged because they've said a lot. Okay, so in part we're going to go chronological, and then we're going to leave Luana and Federica as the last two. Okay, so Paolo, Miss Graduate 2018, who works for the China Chamber of Commerce to the EU. Okay, thanks, Paolo.
Thank you. Yes, so hi, I'm Paolo. I live in Brussels. I graduated with Marianna and Federica from the very first year of the MIS experience. We could say back then it was really kind of a pilot project. It was really a project in the making that we had the chance to participate in. After graduating from the MIS in 2018, I went to the College of Europe in Bruges to study European affairs, and also graduated from there, and then started working in Brussels for my current employer, which is the China Chamber of Commerce Studi, which is just one of the many business associations, trade associations that you have in Brussels. So in brief, I work in lobbying, or you could also call it in a more neutral way, interest representation, which is really a big dimension of what Brussels actually revolves around. About MIS and graduating really from the first year, I think it was really a deep educational experience for us, both on the content dimension, because it was a new topic. It was really something that was not part of Italian academia at the time. The clear focus on security was really something new. And was also given to the fact that it was really in the making. It was really a chance to learn how to become flexible and adaptable, because it was really an opportunity to learn about things while they were being prepared. So I think we had an important role in also supporting somehow the faculty to really structure the program. At least I hope we could do that. And it was really nice to be on board with a new project, to really build fond memories and really tight friendships that still last nowadays. I would say that the degree was really important for my future career. I do not work on security topics, so that's not the main component of its importance. But it was really about learning skills that then I could apply to life, basically. So an open mindset, a multidisciplinary approach to complex issues, and also just the very idea of using abstract knowledge and research-based knowledge to then deal with life problems, stemming in this case from policymaking, for instance. So in my case, what is the impact of policymaking on companies, on the private sector, and applying the theoretical knowledge to find solutions and at least identify concerns of some stakeholders was really permitted by the fact that at least we gain theoretical knowledge accompanied by practical skills. I would like to really, it's not really a piece of advice because it really follows what has been said before, but I wanted to be blunt to the current students. You know it better than us. You know it better than the older generations. The current job environment, the job market is very dynamic. Sometimes it could be also described as volatile. We have been having crises one after the other. And you also know that the international environment is basically changing daily. I challenge you to find one thematic area that hasn't changed in the past 10 years. So the advice is really just to echo what has been said before, is to stay updated, follow your passions, your topics, read every day about news, but also find time to read about more in-depth analysis of the topics you like and you work on. That really helps you on to be very good at your job. If you work in public affairs, if you work in lobbying, but even if you work in policymaking, that's very important, at least in my experience. Stay flexible. There will be new topics that maybe you were interested in the past that will come up again. It seemed that they disappeared, but now they're a problem again, they're an issue. So really staying flexible is the way to go forward, and really stay connected. Both in terms of network, you never know where you will find answers. So somebody that was basically a student, like a former classmate of yours, or just someone you met during something related to studying, could really give you the answer that you need for work, or just maybe sometimes for life, because the connections are really in the end also friendships. And really follow the flow of life, as it was really said before. I guess it's for now, like for us in this historical moment, is really the way forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Paolo and Marianna. So we've got Marianna, who graduated from this in 2019, who's a security consultant, so presumably connected.
Sounds really cool.
Yeah, thanks, Marianna.
Thank you. So hello, thank you for having me here today. I have to be honest, I didn't want to pursue my studies in Italy. I was born and I grew up in the Netherlands, and thanks to my parents' job, we're Italian, but we always had such a broad international background, which of course gave us many opportunities. But then in 2006, we moved to Italy. For me, my brother, and my sister, it was the first time. For my parents, obviously not.
And when I finished high school in the very south of Italy, I made a pact with my parents and I said, okay, you want me to study in Italy? I'll do my bachelor in Italy, but then I'm going to do my master's abroad, deal. So this was our deal. And then after I graduated in my bachelor degree in Rome in political science, one day I was in Edinburgh, I was working in the summer, and then I got the email that I was accepted at the Master in International Security Studies. And then I had to accept because I had to. Like my mother said, and I still have this audio on my phone where she says, this is a train that only comes once in your life and you have to take it. And I took it. I moved the first year to Pisa, where I met Paolo and Federica, and we had an awesome year. We did so many things. In Pisa, I remember, apart from the social life, we did a military traineeship, like esercitazione, where we did this amazing cool tour on this helicopter in the sky, which is very cool. Then we saw many things. Then we moved to Trento, which I quote, the colleague was like going abroad from the south of Italy. And then here we had the first 6 months, and then the last, like in the second semester, I went to the Italian embassy in the Netherlands. So I went back home, where I did this internship. It felt really like going back home again. But then I was happy again to come back to Italy to write my master thesis, which I wrote about the impact of the gas supply in the European Union and diversifying its providers. So Professor Schiavo, I really wished I wrote my thesis this year. But no, well, we can think about it, yes. Well, apart from laughing what's happening in the past months, it kept also our debate in our social WhatsApp groups, like our bonds about speaking, about the things that keep happening around the world, makes friendship, colleagues even stronger, and the bond is really strong. Then the very day that I uploaded my very interesting thesis, I got called from Accenture that found me via LinkedIn, and honestly, I had no clue of who they were. I have to admit it. But anyway, I got accepted. I started the week after my internship, and I've been working there for 3 years already, 3.5. So in the first 3 years, I managed the anti-fraud projects in a very large European banking group. And then in the last 2 months, I've been handling IT risk assessments, business continuity, security awareness in one of the biggest paytechs in Italy. But here it comes now to what the school has given me. When I started in Accenture, I had no clue about anti-fraud projects. I had no clue. I'm not an engineer. I have no technical skills, as I like to call them. But anyway, I made it. In 1 year, I became the focal point of Accenture in this bank. We got all our projects from our competitors, which obviously my boss was very happy about. But if I had the skills and if I managed to go through with it, it's thanks to the school, because they, I mean, what I take back, what I keep with me is the holistic and the interdisciplinary approach that they give us, that have given me, sorry, in all the subjects, and really you can cope with everything. So to the graduating class, if you see a job offer and you think, oh God, I don't have the skills to do this, don't think so, because you do have them. You really do.
Thank you. next we have Ginevra Fontana, also who graduated in 2019 and who worked at the Ministry of Defence, the Italian Ministry of Defence, but now you're at diplomatic school, yeah?
Yeah, is it on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks,
So,
Ginevra.
hi, and thank you for having me. So yeah, looking in hindsight, it looks like I have a quite linear experience. I've done my internship at the Center for Higher Defense Studies, which is within the Ministry of Defense, whilst I was still a student of the MIS, and then I was recalled there for a project that finished. So it began in 2020 and finished in January or February this year. And I was then a project assistant, and I edited 2 call for papers and authored the final results, the final book about it. And now I have moved back to Vienna, where I had previously studied during my high school years. And I am now starting, yes, at the Diplomatic Academy there. I feel like if anyone is interested in pursuing their careers and later in defense and security studies, you can obviously come up to me, especially during, and to my colleagues during the next meeting. I feel like everyone has already said most of the things, like the most important things and lessons learned, so I'm not gonna repeat them. I would just like to stress one thing that I noticed we sort of take for granted here, which is we are really small groups when we arrive in Trento, and we have the chance to not only keep a good relationship and stay connected with our classmates, but to the professors as well. I found that some of the professors that I've studied with have been really good mentors and have helped me along the way, especially when I was trying to figure out what to do next. Or yeah, it looks linear in the background, but it wasn't really linear process getting to where I am now. So you really, the mentorship and the support that you get from professors and the whole lecturers or PhD students and postdoc researchers that are here, I think it's oftentimes underestimated or undervalued, because we don't realize, if you haven't had an experience in a bigger institution, you probably don't realize how nice it is here in Trento to get. Exactly. Great. And so really just take advantage of it and take advantage of the chances that the University of Trento offers you, even to have experience, for example, with the 150 hours or any other collaboration opportunity that comes up, because that builds up then your curriculum and helps you when you are done with your degree to sell yourself in the job market, which, as Paolo was saying, is slightly cutthroat at the moment. So it does help. Anything, any help that you can get, just it's the best experience that you have right now. So just enjoy it, and yeah, just always check the news part of the website. Trust me, it looks like it's just events, but the networking is great, and it's really gonna help you in the long run. So I'm done already.
Thanks, Ginevra. Okay, so we're going back to the maze, and we're actually going back a few years, because Luana, who was my student for 2 years, when back in the day there was also an English course in the second year. Right, so she's going to talk to us about her career, and then Federica, and then perhaps you'll both together talk about the Fondazione Megaletti. Thanks, Luana.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's so nice to be back. As said, I think Boglarka before, to me, like Maze was about people, the people I met, the fact that Trento is so small, and I come from Trentino, so, but it's so small, and therefore you really create a group. You're always together, sometimes 24 hours a day. You study together, you go out together in the morning, you're back here. And also the professors that always been very nice with us and very generous with their time, and help us through not only like through lessons, but also through decisions in life sometime. So I was actually here in room 108 when the day before my dissertation, I got a call from a company in Rome
At the beginning, I thought it was a prank. You know, it's the day before the dissertation, you don't think someone is going to call you. They actually got my number from Alma Laurea. And the day after my dissertation, I was in Rome, and I was completely unprepared because I didn't know anything about the company. It was straight after partying, so it was not really the right moment. But what I learned here, and the fact that especially with Riley, we were doing so many lessons about simulations and how you speak and how you negotiate. And with Strobe, you know, let's just be clear, be simple. That kind of things really help us out. So it's kind of a mantra that you get in your mind and you don't really take it off anymore. So basically I started working straight away. I started this multinational company for private sector. But as said before from some of my colleagues, it was not enough. I kind of wanted to do something that was also had a bigger impact on society. So I went back to study, as many of us did. I did a master in Rome, and I did an internship at the Department for Foreign Affairs. And with that, I entered into politics, and then I found my place, which is, I now work for EY, which is a private company, but I work for the public because I'm a consultant in public affairs. So I kind of merge my passion and also like kind of my way of working. And I work in Rome. Mostly my clients are the Internazionali per I Giovani, who looks after the European projects of Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps, and also for MEF. And I have to say, I do loads of different things. There I started doing budgeting, which after the course with Schiavo, I thought would have never happened. No, absolutely. I still remember I got my first candy because I asked a question and he said, well, it's nice that someone asks us questions. So that was my first candy, not something very clever that I said. So like what we learn here is about being like interdisciplinary, have a different approach to things, being able to adapt, be able to learn fast. And that's the kind of thing I think like the market values now. So when you want a job, these are those soft skills that you really bring with yourself. Also the teamwork. And here we do lots of teamwork, lots of projects all together. And I think you really learn how to work with people. And all those things basically brought me to where I am. And I'm gonna, yeah. Okay. In 2019, myself and Federica, together with family, friends, colleagues, journalists, and also the University of Trento, opened a foundation here in Trento. The foundation is called Fondazione Antonio Megalizzi. I was the fiancé of Antonio, and I graduated approximately a year and a half before he started studying here. Antonio was already so good with the communication. He was working in radio, writing articles, but he really wanted to learn more about the European Union, to talk about the European Union, having all the competencies before and the knowledge that a good journalist should have. So he started here. And it was like a bit easier because he had to listen to me prepare for all my final exams just a year and some months earlier. And we started this foundation. At the beginning, we wanted to carry on his dreams and make him do things, you know, like be present, allow him to still do, to make. And soon we realized that that was not really what the foundation was about. Of course, Antonio is a center, but the foundation has become a place for young people that have common interests, that believe in European values, that believe that they can change things, that they have a role to play in society, and has become really a hub for young people that share values, to create together, to work together, to acquire new skills, and to talk about the European Union. Mostly we do training. And I think the nicest part, and this was Antonio's idea, not mine, unfortunately, was like, to be European citizens, we should know more about the European Union, and that should happen into schools. And therefore, the first
big project that we launched was the Progetto Ambasciatori, through which we selected university students. We train them about the European Union, but also how to communicate the European Union, because we all know can be very boring, especially for young people, but not only for young. So it's about how to really communicate European Union, make it attractive to people, so they learn about the European Union and they start feeling European citizens, which doesn't mean that you have to love the European Union, but you have to have like the ability to know what can be improved and to fight for it. And so the students then enter into schools from young children, 8 to 10 years old, so in elementary school to high schools. And the impact we are having is amazing. It's just about how people start getting passionate about these topics and really feel that the European Union is not something only in Brussels or Strasbourg, but really belong to our daily life. So thank you very much. And I'm gonna let Federica.
I don't have much more to add, actually.
Okay, well, I'm sure you
but,
do.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
going to
you.
be short. But thank you for having me. Actually, I'm glad to be here celebrating this moment with you because the School of International Studies has been really, really important to me in so many ways. And it still is. And it probably represented a turning point both for my personal life, because actually I met my boyfriend here, my current boyfriend, like 5 years ago. He was a May student. My sister-in-law studied here. My brother was here, so the whole family was here. We grew up here, and so it's been like a very it's a very familiar place for us. And so, and we still thank you because as you know, the School of International Studies is really close also to the foundation, and I'm gonna explain to you also in a moment. Well, I actually enrolled for the Master in International Security Studies. So we were the first students graduating here with Paolo and Marianna. And we studied both in Pisa and in Trento. It was an amazing experience. It was the pilot year, so I can't deny that it was a bit tough. But yeah, I can imagine that. So, but anyway, it was great for us. And as they said before, it was it was an enriching experience. We learned a lot about, of course, researching, analyzing, learning in a multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary way, but we learn a lot about also networking, about the institutional and diplomatic environment. And it was due not only to the presence of professors that were really always there for us, introducing to this world, but also to all the opportunities and chances that this school offers to us. For instance, I spent some months in the Italian permanent mission at the United Nations in Vienna. And I worked for the UNODC, so the Office for Drugs and Crime, because actually I enrolled in this course because I wanted to fight transnational organized crime and mafia. Then after 2 years, you realize that maybe you cannot do that so easily, but you can do it daily in different ways. Right now, I'm working actually for as an external consultant for the representation of the European Commission in Milan, and now I'm working in the sector of media and the press office. So actually, the sector where my brother was working like mixed with what I was studying. And so I'm really happy to say that actually I'm proud to, and I feel a lot of responsibility actually to carry out this job and this passion to communicate European Union and to communicate also what I learned here, because it was a really precious knowledge that I always be grateful for. So, and this knowledge actually and this kind of opportunities is also something that we try to promote with the foundation. As Luana said before, we try to give this opportunity and to let citizens feel more European, more active and connected to the European Union and to the institutional world, which sometimes seems so far away, seems so gray, let's say, not real. But there are a lot of students like you that are really eager to learn and to do something more. So we are really happy to go on with our work, and we'd like to also invite you to join us, and we thank also the School of International Studies and the University of Trento for supporting us every day. And we are really glad to see that also the passion that Antonio carried out by enrolling and in this course and starting like a new career here. We are glad to see that there are so many students like him trying to do the same thing and trying to, let's say, change the world somehow. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Federica. Right, we're going to have, just before we start the Q&A session, I just want to sum up a little bit. I've been taking notes. The advice, very briefly: be patient, be open, be connected, be resilient, be flexible, be adaptable. And the one that was repeated throughout, follow the flow of life. Okay, now, the last thing, this comes from me, but I think it comes from all my colleagues. You learned a lot from us, but we sure as hell learned a lot from you. We grew with you. I mean, you were the pilot for the Miss. Maddalena was the pilot for the Laurea Specialistica. Sometimes it felt like we were making it up as we were going along, but we all grew. And in the school is what it is today. It is thanks to you guys. So thank you for coming here today. And I'm sure the present students are really thankful too. Right, so. Questions? Who would like to, oh, we have this question here.
Right, so hello, thank you very much. Just a quick question. So you talk quite a lot, I think you remarked the fact that the school gave you the, well, first of all, the knowledge, the interdisciplinarity to face the professional world. But my question would be, did you find that the transition from, let's say, academia in general and the professional world was, let's say, in a way difficult and challenging, because obviously you come from a world where you study, you don't have any sort of like technical knowledge. For example, you in Accenture, you don't have the technicalities of anti-fraud or any kind of knowledge. And I think that's the market, it's going that way, right? Like you see, like in the applications for Accenture or any other company, they ask for scientific knowledge, but specific knowledge, like something that has to be applied. Whereas we all come from a more, like, let's say, theoretical world. So the question would be, do you see that the transition, that there is actually a transition and that it's difficult to go from one world to another, and indeed how you manage this transition? So it's a question open to everyone, whoever wants to reply.
I
But
have
thank
an
you.
answer to that if you want. That would be that actually you do have the skills. You think that transitioning from academia into the job world will be a big jump. It usually is not. You already have the skills for project planning. You already have the skills to teach yourselves things as you go. You already have most of the skills that they're looking for. And what the school teaches you, that was like the point of my like what I was saying, is that if you happen then to enter the job market and work with people who come from other universities, you will notice that they have a gap compared to the school, and that you have a long way less to go than them. So this, like everything that you're taught here is easily expandable in the job market. It doesn't change much, like switching from writing papers or writing projects to then planning a job. Maybe the only thing that changes is you have a longer time to prepare for that in the job market. That's the only thing I would say.
I would just add a couple of, I want to be very blunt because I wish somebody was had been blunt with me when I was in your position. If you're applying for a job that requires very technical skills, probably you're applying to the wrong job. I'll give you an example. I did my thesis here for the MIS in international space law. I'm not a lawyer, so all the legal professions are out of the scope that I can apply for. And I'm not an engineer. So if I want to be part of NASA, maybe that's a bit wrong. Even ESA, the European Space Agency, has a lot of job positions for people with an international relations background, but also they're looking also for scientists, and I cannot apply for one. So just be very honest with yourself. Check if the position that you're applying for is really meant for you. But as she says, it's really behind those words, they're actually looking for those skills that you already have. The time dimension might be different. You might have to read 200 pages in half a day and produce a report on it, or maybe you have to read 600 in 1 week and just do a nice work. And so that's the difference with studying. I guess the timing, the pressure you might have, the fact that it's really about receiving money for what you put in as an effort. But the skills, trust me, they're already there, and they will be appreciated while you actually provide results to your employer. How to manage a transition? Probably start with a traineeship, see if you like what you're doing, and really gradually build on it. Don't expect to already become policy officer from the European Commission in 6 months after graduation.
And I just like to add something. When I first started, I had a team of 20 people developing, I don't know what. And the first meeting, I was like, guys, you're awesome. You do so much work. I appreciate you all, but you have to tell me your problems because otherwise I cannot help you. You can't write me, the code I have to fix, I have to do. It's like, what's your problem? How can I help? We're going to solve this. So it takes time. I was 3 years, as I said before, in this very technical team, and now I moved to all the governance people. And it's a different language. It's like languages. I see it as languages. But I'm sure you will have the skills to solve the issues as you're solving if you're studying right now. No. Well, then you are over-skilled for this. Then you're over-skilled for this.
Did any of the other cohorts want to add anything? Oh, no. Could we have the mic, please?
I think back to your question, I just want to encourage you indeed, as it was previously mentioned by Paolo and as well Mariana, that focus on your competencies. There's a big difference when you start a job with the skills they already have at the school. It turns out in the end that companies or employers really want people that can do the work. That was in my case. That's in almost everybody's case. Next to what they ask in a job, they're realistic that they can never find 100% the person that meets all the requirements. Maybe they're looking for 70%. usually. This is from talking with recruiters. So even if everything's written on paper that they're looking for this top-notch, amazing person with 10 years of experience and whatever, in reality, they also know that the market is a little bit different. So they're willing to accommodate. But to do play to your strengths, as it was mentioned, your strengths have also been developed here next to research. If you're doing PhD, one of the most amazing things that I've learned also at the school, next to the courses that were taught by our professor, also to me were the courses that I've done with Kate Riley, particularly because they focused on competencies and skills. And I think this is valuable also to some of my colleagues from the same years, working in teams, doing presentations, writing reports, policy briefs, everything, those skills when you start a job. And I've seen colleagues, I mentioned this yesterday, or interns that came to our organization, they were asked to write a formal email to commission officers, and they were taking hours, sometimes half a day, to draft one email. Whereas you come already with the skills, you're already at the different starting points. So once you know your strengths and your competences, you can write your CV differently. You don't just focus on what you don't have, you focus on actually what you do have. And second of all, and it's been mentioned as well by colleagues, try any experience that we can next to your studies. I did several projects next to my studies, managing people and so on, NGO volunteering, do everything that you can, because that's how you discover what are your strengths. And when you already enter the job market, you already start off differently than just only having focused on academic development. So I hope this helps, but I think this is valid for in general for where the job market is at the moment. So it is very much focused on competencies, although some profiles are very technical.
Any more questions? Another question? Anybody? Too shy?
So thanks a lot for being here with us, first of all. And second, I would like to ask you to tell us gently what have been missing, what you would have liked to have done in school that you did not. So what would you say if I ask you, is there anything that we should have provided you with and you didn't find at the school that maybe you found? Many of you said that you have continued to study something else. So is there anything that you found somewhere else that was not at the school and that the school should think about integrating into the program? Not too many things. But,
Can I go first? Besides the fact of candies, like why didn't we get candies? I'm just excited. It appears there's a difference between Miss and May's students. The only thing
We had them, by the way.
Oh, so just my year?
Yeah.
Great, thanks. No, besides that, I would say the only thing I noticed is that, okay, I remember that. I won't talk about good mentors next time. No, the only thing I think was slightly missing, or we could have had a little bit more, was some help in exactly drafting CVs or something. So helping in the first job applications, because to many people it feels, as you know, I was also the student representative, so I sort of collected that throughout the years. And I feel like sometimes, especially if students don't come from families who have already a background in the international world or similar, there are technicalities that can make you not look as professional as the others. And that would be especially the same thing that was asked earlier. So some help during career selection, or maybe some more career talks would be nice. Besides that, I personally don't remember any other negative issues, but.
Maybe I can speak with the mask, yeah. I'm going to say a bad word now, coercion in choosing a coherent path, because I'm from May, so it's European and international. And first year was all European and international. And then I remember second year, maybe it was first meeting or opening of the academic year, whatever, Professor Fracasso told us to follow a path, specialized, maybe more European, maybe more international, maybe more economic, maybe more law, maybe more cultural and communications. And personally, I did, but I know many of my peers that didn't and was like, okay, I'm going to choose this class just because it's on a Wednesday at 10 instead of a Tuesday at 8, something like that. And in the end, they were, I wouldn't say confused, but when they were presenting themselves to certain internships or jobs, you couldn't really understand what have you done, what do you want to do, or something like that. And I know that you probably leave it open for us to decide because we are adult enough to do it, but maybe some of us are not. So we were only told at that first day to do this. Maybe I wouldn't say a rule, but repeat it.
After my experience in Bruges, which was more, let's say, also career oriented, that's the point I would like to stress. I think there could be a couple of maybe seminars or even courses that would be more difficult to organize about, for instance, just the sector I work in, interest representation. It's huge in Brussels. It's really the core of the first steps of policy making during the public consultation and so on. I think it's a topic that sometimes we miss, but it really, my friends in Brussels that study at LMAIS really all work in this sector. So I think it's really a nice way to also probably give some orientation to students. And I also noticed maybe, I know that the school is already doing a bit of this, for instance, some idea of like episode training, you know, like just giving students an idea of what they are facing. I think that could be also reinforced after that experience, which was really pragmatic, I would say, to some extent. I would just maybe suggest this. Thank you.
Can I add just maybe something, and I'm speaking for the Miss course. I don't know what it's like now, but I think that a course in academic English, academic writing would be also nice for Miss students.
She was jealous because she didn't have strobe.
No, really, no, it's just because I was surrounded by May students doing it, and so I managed to see how it was, and I don't know if they agree, but we talked about it a couple of times, and it would have been nice. But I don't know if I speak for everybody, so it's just an opinion that we shared. So
actually now you can, it isn't the same, but there is an online course with tutor support for Miss students in academic writing. So we realized that this was missing. And it's a really good course, even though it's online, and Richard follows you and gets you to do peer work and peer editing, and you have to actually produce work and get feedback on it. So it's not the same as following Richard's course in class, but it's halfway there.
Then it's not for me anymore, because I had to switch on like communication, press releases, and so I had to forget everything about academic writing because
well, that's my bit on the base. Okay.
Thanks.
So I have the same question as Professor Schiavo, but not related to your students, but rather to your condition as alumni. Is there any activity, initiative, project, or way of keeping in touch that you would have appreciated, but which is not in place? So can you give us some suggestions?
In the meantime, the microphone arrives. Professor Schiavo, also maybe some course about cybersecurity. I know they might have been introduced. They were telling me in Pisa, but okay, then I'll shut. The challenges have changed.
Thank you. I attended one of these events organized by the UNITN alumni virtual meeting of all of you in Germany I'm in Germany, so I attended with all of us in Germany. And then I know my friends from my state, one that are in Brussels, the Benelux one. I would have liked one for the School of International Studies, so more specific, because when I did the one with everyone, of course, we were in groups where it was, okay, I studied engineering and I studied literature and I studied that. So in the end, we talked about personal experience and stuff. It was funny to meet, but didn't give me much later. But with the MACE ones, maybe the connections that we said, and also meeting the former other years. So that's exactly. Or I get something professional also other than personal, because from the mix of all students, it was mostly personal, and that's it.
Grew from the top down, but from the bottom up. So if you have any ideas on a specific topic to be discussed together from different angle, you are invited to submit, propose this topic. And for sure, all the group, the alumni, will help to develop it and to organize this kind of meeting. Of course, it depends on the interest, but it depends on you as well. So if you have ideas, please contact us, contact Emanuele, your so delegate from alumni here, and please propose this topic to be discussed.
Just one short comment, if I can, on this question. I want to also, I'm doing currently also a professional mentoring program, part of the University of Trento. I don't know how many of you know that the university has this option. I highly encourage you to try it out, because it's, I think this is something that can be done at the level of the school, by the way, which what it means is that you are paired with an alumni, either of the university or in this case of the school, that is further ahead in his career. And you can be paired with him, and it's a 6-month period in which you have monthly meetings. You talk about many things about career development, personal things related to the job. But it gives like a nice experience of actually connecting with somebody that is a few years ahead of where maybe you want to go. Sometimes it turns out to be your match of career, or sometimes maybe it just gives you different insights. I think this type of mentoring using the alumni, connecting with the current students, could be an interesting way to not only establish the connections between the generations, but also help them to have inside perspectives of specific job segments and so on. And that's actually, I recommend, because the university does this, maybe our school could do this. And second, as Erika has mentioned, indeed, just to stimulate some such events, either by country or whatever the alumni are based, also to strengthen a little bit, I think, the connections between alumni in one shape or another. So yeah, thanks.
Now, I'll put it on, yes, okay. If anybody's got, because obviously, sadly, Serena and Maddalena can't join us for the aperitivo. So if anybody's got any questions specifically about the commission in Morocco, or for Serena, academia in the UK, anybody got any more questions for all of our? Okay, thanks.
Hi, I was wanting to ask if any of the alumni here today were actually maybe a bit older when they entered the graduate program, like they took maybe a couple years to work between their undergraduate and graduate degree. Okay, so I just wanted to identify you so I can find you later and talk to you. And you, okay, great, and you. Because it feels like it's kind of targeted to like people in their younger 20s.
No, age has nothing to do with it. I speak as somebody who graduated finally from a bachelor's degree at 26. Okay, right. Well, I would now like to thank the current students for coming, because I will admit that we were panicking a little bit yesterday that we would have an audience, but obviously we didn't have to worry. Okay. Stefan, I don't know if you wanted to say a final word.
Come. Also, again, Sylvia, for all the organization. It has been for those of you who were also present yesterday, let me just add that the rector sent a note congratulating for yesterday and saying that he has enjoyed the celebrations, and I think he said that he represents the spirit of the school, and so we are particularly happy about this. And now it's time to toast. So I stop here, and thanks everybody, and long life to the school.
Oh, one each. There's just 3 of you there. Pardon?